First of all, does anyone get that reference? 5,000 Candles in the Wind?
Parks and Rec!
Okay, so we have some Parks and Rec fans? All right. This will all tie together. What in the hell? Whatever. Okay, so another story about death, but I think that's how a lot of us learn. It's the great equalizer. No one's ever escaped it. Except Jesus, if that's your thing. So, this is about my friend Dylan. And Dylan was a beautiful human being, and I think about him on a daily basis. Every time I hear a 90s alt-rock song, The X has been a good radio station that's made me cry a few times, because I'll hear a song that I can still hear clear as day in Dylan's voice. I met Dylan when I was 14 in Douglasville, where I grew up. I was at Lifeway Christian Bookstore looking for a track to sing a song on Sunday morning, because I was a church girl. And Dylan works there. He was 18. He was 4 years older than me. And we got to talking, and I didn't know what flirting was, but I thought he was flirting with me. And then he was like, "How old are you?" And I said, 14. And he's like, "Whoa, I'll help you find your song. Maybe I'll take you out in 4 years, but please go away." You know, he actually did this thing. So I would see him periodically around town. Come to find out, his family took voice lessons from the same place I took voice lessons. So we were kind of involved. He was never creepy. It was always like a very, honest whatever. So I turn 18, and he calls me and says, "I'm going to take you on a date. I told you I would 4 years ago." And I'm like, okay. So we went on a date. We never dated, though. He's one of the only guys in my life I've ever been that close to that there was never any romantic attraction. He was one of my best friends. And we would laugh a lot. The Way to My Heart was always to make me laugh. And we would sit and watch like R. Kelly's Trapped in the Closet and just laugh our asses off. We would do karaoke. We would play those video games where you do the dancing and the karaoke. And his family founded a paper that's popular up there, like a community paper. Just a really good family. And Dylan was always really good to me and always very encouraging. And he hosted trivia. We'd go play trivia. Well, I don't remember what year, but he battled cancer for 2 years before he died. He had something called cholangiocarcinoma, and it is bile duct cancer is essentially what it is. And I had started dating Rex and did not go to visit Douglasville as much as I used to because I had something anchoring me down here. And Dylan and I remained close, and we would talk online, encourage each other, send each other links and pictures. One of the biggest regrets I have is that I didn't go visit him in his last few months. I think I was scared to. His mom had posted a picture of him, and I didn't recognize him, and it broke my heart, and it scared me. But I also know that Dylan was a funny guy and would laugh about everything, and when we would talk on the phone or online, he was always very light. And like I said, when I think of love and light, I think of that light being levity, lightness, not just the bright lasers or, whatever. It's like actually feeling light. Because life is so heavy and death is so heavy. And so as Dylan put it, one of the benefits of slowly dying with cancer is that those were his words, he got to plan his own funeral. And it didn't happen for several weeks after he died. He had a following on the internet that I didn't even know about, but he hosted an online karaoke competition, and they would do voiceovers and plays online, and he had thousands of friends online and thousands of followers. And his family didn't realize, he lived at home until he passed, and never really dated, that he may have been ace, and we just didn't know what that was at the time. I don't know. But anyways, he had all these friends, and they sent videos from all around the world that they played at his funeral, and it was really touching. And so he planned his own funeral, and his whole family's musicians, and he has a brother who is special needs named Jesse, who I'm still friends with. And one time, Dylan and Jesse's mom called me and said, "Jesse wants to go on a date, and he's, never been on a date, but he needs practice. Can he take you on a date?" And Jesse didn't drive, and I said, "Oh my gosh, that's so sweet." And so I drove, and we went and got milkshakes, and we went and saw a movie, and it was, he said, "All right, I think I'm ready to go on a real date." And Dylan told me that was one of the most precious things anyone had done, and I still hold that so dear. I'm still close to his family, but that's beside the point. So when Dylan died, I was obviously heartbroken, and a couple weeks passed, went up to the funeral, and I got up to speak, and his favorite color was purple. And the day after I found out he died, some purple flowers sprouted in my yard that I had never seen before. And I'd lived in this house for 4 years, and I certainly didn't plant them. And so, whenever I see this particular kind of flower, I have no idea what it's called, it's just purple. I talked about how whenever I see those, I think of Dylan, and whenever I hear the gin blossoms on the radio, I think of Dylan, and how much of an impact he left on my life. And at the end of the service, his brother gets up, and he said, we laughed at the service, we cried at the service. His brother gets up with his guitar, and he said, if any of you know my brother, his two favorite things were music and laughter. And his brother proceeded to lead everyone in a sing-along of 5,000 Candles in the Wind from Parks and Recreation, which, if you don't know, there's this little horse named Little Sebastian, and he's very popular in the town, and then Little Sebastian dies. This is a little horse, and they put on a benefit concert for him, and Chris Pratt's character writes a song that's going to be even more emotional than Candle in the Wind. It's going to be 5,000 Candles in the Wind. And the song is, bye-bye, little Sebastian, I'll miss you in the saddest fashion. There's a whole thing, but his brother gets up and sings this, and we're all, at the service, we're just crying and laughing. And that is one of the most beautiful love and light moments I can think of. And I have one more thing to add, kind of unrelated. If you heard me speak in February, I talked about my favorite author is Tom Robbins. And there's a word in one of his books that I actually got tattooed on my body. It's erlecta, and it means lighten up. And that is part of love and light for me, and it reminds me no matter how heavy things get, just lighten up. Things get sad, things get heavy, but we can always lighten up.